This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Megan Shepard. Thank you so much for tuning in. Topping news tonight, officer in charge of the Freeport Met Office, Siobhan Moxie Bonamy, reporting that there are no significant changes as it relates to the overall development of this weekend's weather system. She says that models agree that the overall general location of the system will be just west of Northern Andros.
The system is still pegged to move to the northeast, pushing ahead of it a great amount of moisture, and that will result in periods of scattered to numerous showers across the northwest Bahamas, and particularly Bimini, Grand Bahama, Abaco, Berry Island, as well as very gusty winds, some of which can gust to gale force strength greater than 34 knots at times. The low itself should gradually clear our area by midday tomorrow. It should sit just to the north of Grand Bahama and northern Abaco and continue to move in a northeast direction.
Bonamy says that residents should also expect adverse marine conditions and flooding in some areas.
So definitely mariners should stay in port and hunker down. We also expect some flooding with those rain bands as they come in. So persons who are in low-lying flood-prone areas should take precautions. Outside of that, like I said, development of that system, I believe it's possibly going to happen once it gets out beyond the Grand Bahama, Abaco area and out of our immediate vicinity. So at least I'm hoping, that is my hope. But we're still going to continue to monitor, of course.
Now, this weather disturbance is expected to bring lots of rain between today and tomorrow, while some in the northern Bahamas are concerned, as many are still in recovery mode following Hurricane Dorian. Chief Councilor for Sweetings Key, Gladstone Russell, says there are persons who are still living in tents. He says residents are aware of the weather system and plan to seek shelter in the homes of others if weather conditions become unbearable. But Russell says residents are more concerned about the fact that the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season is 2 weeks away, and there is still so much work to be done on that key.
They're asking for the community. They're asking for us to start, the contractor to start cleaning up, so they can start rebuilding. We can't rebuild with key in the state it's in. We need to get the key cleaned up, and so we can start rebuilding. That's our main focus, getting the key cleaned up and knowing because we have a lot of NGOs wants to help, people wants to help, but the corona get everything locked down, we have to look at that too. Things are going to corner next month, and the way it seems like there's no hope.
Now over on the island of Abaco, Senior Deputy Administrator for North and Central Abaco, Therese Budalang, says that in a post-Hurricane Dorian environment, the situation has many residents extremely worried and apprehensive, anticipating what is to come this weekend, given the state that Abaco is still in. She says a lot of persons are concerned, but residents have been preparing.
Yeah, they've been doing that all along in anticipation of the hurricane season, Joan. Early start in the season, has them apprehensive, but they've been pressing extremely hard with the assistance of NGOs, the DRA, and helping one another, trying to close in those roofs, take the tarps off those roofs. And even our shelters, we have been making tremendous progress, but we still are ways out in getting them ready for the hurricane season. And so I know for a fact that residents never stop trying to get to where they need to be for June.
She says in the meantime, they're prayerful and hoping for the best.
We're hoping that the worst of what is projected does not come this way, because we still have people in tents. for the most part, the migrant community, and we still have persons in trailer that we're concerned about. We're still trying to put some final touches on the structures that we anticipate to list as our shelters. And so we're hoping that residents take all the necessary precaution and do the best that they can to be safe this weekend.
But things are a bit different in Grand Key. Well-known businessman Craig CEPHAS says that weather conditions are beginning to deteriorate, but he adds that there is not much preparation to be done as most homes on that key have been repaired since the passage of Hurricane Dorian.
There's no homes on this island that has tops on it no more because we had a lot of help from my American friends that came over. Bought tops, not tops actually, like peel and stick, shingle, building supplies, and so just about every home on this island has basically been repaired. Yes, everybody homes kind of dried in, so which is a good thing. Everybody homes dried in. So I mean, I don't think we're expecting a ton of wind, but it should be a lot of rain, but we should be fine.
Meanwhile, the Minister of State for Disaster Preparedness Management and Reconstruction, the Honorable Iram Lewis, giving an update tonight on preparations at the Rand Memorial Hospital as the island faces inclement weather this weekend.
Happy to say that we don't have any patients presently in the Samaritan's tent. All of the patients has been moved to the Cancer Association, where we have some 19 patients over there now. In dry condition, in a hard structure, and those patients that were in the IC units, the most critical patients, they have been moved over to the trauma center at the Rand Memorial Hospital. So they are housed in much more acceptable and structures that can really withstand the wind and the rain. All of the rooms have negative pressure. So in the event that there's a patient, there's a suspect patient, all of the rooms have the air. They have their individual air conditioning units with negative pressure. So whatever is in that room will be contained in that room, so it won't transfer. So even if there's a COVID-19 patient, the Cancer Association, because we have a ward at the front, but we have 7 individual rooms also at the back with negative air pressure.
Well, some promising news coming out of the Ministry of Health's latest press conference this afternoon, as there are no new cases in the Bahamas, and it's been 3 weeks since the last COVID-19 death in the country. 2 new cases were confirmed on the island of Bimini on Thursday. Case number 95, a 26-year-old female from Bimini who traveled on March 1st, returning home on the 6th. Many were confused as to why this information was relevant to her diagnosis.
Seeing some correlation, not only with travel, but attendance at a congregate event. So the person who traveled, and if you go back to the slide, you could be asymptomatic and not know it for a long period of time, as long as 36 days in our experience, without symptoms. So if you go back May, April, and you have an event that case number 10 or number 12 presented or cases, and they attended the same function as yesterday's case, but that case is only presenting now. The exposure might have occurred later than the March 6th. It might have been March 6th travel with the same, or the group. We're trying to tie when this occurred, when the exposure occurred. We know that the symptoms can last for a very long period of time, but we're trying to go back to see linkages between cases. And that's why getting a good travel history is important, and we will continue to do that.
And then questions still linger regarding the COVID-positive man who returned to Grand Bahama on the government's special repatriation flight, but later tested negative. Shoshina Rowe-Farquharson sat in on the press conference and posed this question.
we're seeing some correlation not only with travel, but attendance at a congregate event. So the person who traveled, and if you go back to the slide, you could be asymptomatic and not know it for a long period of time, as long as 36 days in our experience, without symptoms. So if you go back May, April, and you have an event that case number 10 or number 12 presented, or cases, and they attended the same function as yesterday's case, but that case is only presenting now. The exposure might have occurred later than the March 6th. It might have been March 6th travel with the same, or the group. We're trying to tie when this occurred, when the exposure occurred. We know that the symptoms can last for a very long period of time, but we're trying to go back to see linkages between cases. And that's why getting a good travel history is important, and we will continue to do that.
Bahamas, this is Pastor Lavonda Nautilus of Trinity Ministries International, and I am delighted to share an encouraging thought and scripture with you. I believe it's a strategy scripture that will help us to navigate through these challenging times. Isaiah 26:3. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. Another translation is steadfast mind, whose mind is stayed on God. It means we look to God, we cry to God, we pray to God without ceasing. We can discuss every and anything with God, but it means too also that we need to apply it. Apply it because it works. I came to encourage the Bahamas to rise up and shake off the spirit of frustration, shake off doubt, feelings of I don't know what's going to happen, feelings of heaviness. I don't know, I just don't know. Shift on purpose. Shift, Bahamas, and let's put our minds on God. Let's not allow the enemy to use our minds against us. God has everything in control. Psalms 34:19 says that many are the afflictions of the righteous, but God delivers them out of them all, and not one of the bones are broken. Let's think on that. Philippians 4:8 says, whatsoever things are true, honest, just, pure, whatsoever things are lovely and of a good report. Watch this. Think on these things. That's the word. God gave us a thinking capacity. Let's use it for his honor and for his glory. Let's allow the breakthrough and the deliverance to take place in our minds. Pull down those vain imaginations, man. Think on God. Proverbs 23:7 says, as a man thinketh, so is he. Let's get our minds right in God. Romans 8:30 says, gives us permission. It says, but in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loves us. Bahamas, let's rise up and give the Lord a praise. Let's rise up, be wiser. Let's rise up, be stronger. Let's rise up and move closer to God. Come on, Bahamas. We coming out of this better, wiser, stronger, and closer. God bless you.
And coming up, a local private institution says virtual learning may be the way of the future. That story and more when we come back.